Welcome back to jamplay.com. I'm Mark Brennan. It's good to be back filming again. Today we're going to move on with my basic electric guitar series. This would be lesson 12, and what we're going to do today is we're going to build on our last lesson, the basic E minor pentatonic that we worked on. We're going to expand it a little bit. We're going to add the blue note to it, which spices it up a little bit. We're also going to look at another position that we'll call the home plate box. And then we're going to get into some left-hand technique that I was talking about in the previous lesson. Predominantly we'll work with hammer-ons and pull-offs, different ways of slurring notes, and we'll get into some more complex riffs using these techniques. And then if we have time, we'll talk about vibrato and sliding a little bit too. Okay, so again, it's great to be back with you. Get your guitar tune up, get a nice tone, a little bit of crunch going, and we'll get started. Thanks. Okay, so E minor pentatonic in the open position. What we're going to do is we're going to add the famous blue note. Now, this adds an extra note to the scale that gives it a little attitude, gives it the bluesy sound, gives it a little funk, gives you a lot more possibilities with riffs that make it sound really cool. So what I'll do is we'll just go through it, scroll down to your supplemental material, and the first thing that we have is the E minor blues scale. Now, when you add the blue note to the minor pentatonic scale, most people will refer to that as the blues scale. They know what you're talking about. You add the blue note. Okay, so there's your root note, the low E, and then we have the G. Okay, now we have the A. Now here's the blue note. Okay, this would be called the sharp 4, the flat 5 note, right there. So we're going to refer to it as A sharp, or the sharp 4 note. Then there's the 5, and then we finish it off with the flat 7 and the 1. Okay, so there's one octave. Let's go through that one octave again. Blue note. You can see it's got some attitude to it. And then the E. Now let's move up to the next octave. We have the open G and the A. Now the blue note is here. There's your A sharp with your third finger. The open B, the D, the E, and then the G. And then we'll descend. Blue note here. Okay, let's try it with some metronome rhythm. Now I got it set here for 80, so nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, and blue note, blue note, descending, there's your blue note, there's your blue note. Okay, nice and steady on quarter notes. Okay, so the fingering's really no problem. Again, in the first position, we're using the same finger on the fret number. So the blue note on the 5th string, you're going to use your index on that first fret, and then use your ring finger here on this blue note. Okay, so why don't we take a little break here. You can get that under your fingers a little bit, and then we'll look ahead to our new position we're going to call the home plate box. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're talking about the E minor blues scale. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move up into an extra added position that'll give you more notes, more possibilities for riffs. Okay. Now as you learn the minor pentatonic system, it's a box system that you learn up and down the neck, and as you go along with your music studies and guitar studies, you begin to learn more of these boxes, and the whole system will connect all the way up the neck. Okay, so this is kind of our first step to do this. There's another box up in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to learn the upper part of the box, the part of the box that I consider the most useful. and it tacks on these two notes of our main box, and we're going to move up into here, and the box takes on the shape of a home plate. Okay, so we're going to move up into the third position. So our index will be over the third fret, and the tonic note will be with our third finger on the third fret of the second string. Okay, so the supplemental material lays it out like this. We're going to start with the tonic note, just so you keep the key, the E minor, in your ear. So there's the E. Now we'll play the D with our index. Instead of playing the B open, we're going to play the B now on the fourth fret of the third string with our middle finger. Back to the D with your index. Now we can go up to the G with our ring finger, now in the third position, and then there's the A. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so it's just a new position. There's a lot of possibilities for riffs you're going to find out here. Okay, now, what about the blue notes? We're going to tack those onto this box now too. Okay, so the one blue note that we had on the third string was the A sharp. So we can get that with our index finger in this position. Now you have the A sharp up here with your pinky. Okay, let me lay that out for you again. Now what I'm going to do here, bring it down to the main box. Okay, let me do that again. Start with a blue note. There's the blue note with our pinky. I'm going to shift into first position. Notice how I did that. I'm up in the third position with the home plate box, and then I'm going to shift down into the main box in the open position, actually the first position, with our index over the first fret. Shift, use our ring finger there. Okay, now let's do this. This is in the supplemental material. We're going to do that E minor blues shifting to home plate box. Okay, so this will give you a chance to get the feel of shifting up into that upper box, the home plate box, and then back down into the main box. And we'll use all the blue notes too. Okay, let's do it again. Make sure I get the fingering right here. Now I'm going to use 3 here, then shift. I'll use 1, then shift to 2. Okay, so there it is. There's the whole blues scale with the main box and the home plate box. Okay, so get that under your fingers, and we'll come back and we'll start doing some cool riffs. Thanks. Okay, welcome back. I'm Mark Brennan, and you're on jamplay.com. Good to be with you. We're talking about E minor pentatonic blues. Now what I'm going to do is start talking about some left-hand technique that will expand your repertoire of riffs. We're going to talk about slurring, but we'll use the more common guitar terms, hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay. Now let's start with a hammer-on. A hammer-on is when you attack a note with your pick, and then the next note that you play, you hammer a finger. Okay. Now we're going to do it off open strings right now. Okay, some of the hammer-ons that we'll do later in the lesson will involve 2 fingers. But for now, what we'll do is we'll start real basic. We'll start with open strings with hammer-ons, and then later we'll look at pull-offs. Okay, so down in the supplemental material, the first hammer-on I'm showing you is the E to G. Okay, now a couple points about hammering. Think of it as a kind of a small explosive movement with your finger, where your finger's coming down with enough force to keep the string vibrating. So you're slapping the string onto the fret, the actual fret wire, and the string keeps vibrating. Okay, now a lot of things that I hear from students when they first try to hammer is they just don't get enough force on their hammer. They either just place the string or place the finger and the note comes out real soft, or they just don't get enough with enough attack. You want the hammered note to be the same volume as the attack note. Okay, so it's just a little explosive move. You want to get right on the tip of your finger when you make this move too. Okay. Okay, now the next hammer is off the fifth string with our middle finger. Okay, now we're just going to use the basic minor pentatonic here. Okay, there's your fourth string, open to the second fret. Third string, open to the second fret. Now we used our middle finger on those past three hammers. Now we'll go back to 3. Open hammer, open hammer. Okay? So you want to be consistent with your hammering. You want to articulate your hammer-ons to where they're the same volume as the attack note. Okay, so let's do the ascending part of this exercise with the hammers real slow. Listen to the articulation of your hammer. Okay? Hearing those hammer notes real good. Let's try it again. Okay, so that's a good way to start with the open strings. There's no stretching involved, so you can concentrate on getting good, clean, articulated hammer-ons. Okay, now let's descend with pull-offs. Now a pull-off is a note that you attack, and you're literally pulling the finger, and think of it as picking the string with your left-hand finger, snapping the string. Okay, so on the top E string, it's kind of easy to do that because you don't have to worry about any strings down here to bump. You have issues when you're doing pull-offs on these strings that we'll talk about. But first, try the G to E pull-off, and shouldn't be much problem. You're snapping the string a little bit to articulate it. Okay, now the D to B pull-off. Now what we need to do is we have to avoid doing this, bumping the next adjacent string up. So we need to pull off in a manner that we clear the next adjacent string. That's something you're going to have to practice. You want to get away from doing this and get it to sound like this, where you don't bump the next adjacent string. So you're kind of pulling up a little bit. Okay, let's try the A to G. Okay, then the E to D. That wasn't too good. There's a better one. And then the G to E. Okay, so descending from the G with pull-offs. Okay, you need to practice so you get it clean and you don't bump adjacent strings. Okay, so you get that going. Now let's put the whole exercise together. We ascend with hammer-ons and descend with pull-offs. Now I'm going to re-attack the G and pull it. Okay, one more time. articulate your slurs. The hammered or pulled note should be as loud as the attack note. Okay? Now the beauty of hammer-ons and pull-offs is it's real easy to increase your speed because you don't have to attack every note. But keep it even. See what I mean? Okay, but for now, just listen to the articulation on your slurs. Every hammer and pull is as loud as the attack note. Okay, so there you have it, hammer-ons and pull-offs. Let's take a break here, and then we'll look ahead to some more complex riffs using hammers and pulls. Thanks. Okay, so hopefully you got your hammers and pulls going pretty cleanly. You got to be careful to get them even too. A lot of students tend to rush the hammers and the pulls because they're worried about making the move, and it's kind of a physical thing, and they tend to go. Or I hear a lot of students doing that kind of a thing. Okay, but you got to control them to the point where they're even. Okay, that's the important thing with the slurs is evenness and articulation, of course. Okay, now let's try something a little trickier. I'm going to show you a riff that's going to combine a hammer-on and a pull-off, and it'll incorporate the blues scale for you. Okay, this riff has a triplet feel too, so it'll be triplet, 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 triplet. It'll have that kind of a feel to it. Okay, and with this riff, notice the picking too. You want to make sure that you're picking it the way that I laid it out there for you. Okay, so we're going to start with a hammer, the open E to G, with a downstroke, and then up on the 5th string. Now we're going to pull off the blue note to the open string, and then back to the G. Okay, the picking is down, hammer, up, down, pull, down. Okay, try it again. Down, hammer, up, down, pull, down. Okay, now this is a repeating pattern that'll go all the way across the fretboard ascending. Okay, on beat 3, we do this. Okay, so you're just hammering open A to 2nd fret, open D string, and then you pull. Again, down, hammer, up, down, pull, down. Okay, so you put the two together. Now the pattern just keeps going. Okay, we did that on the 4th and 3rd strings. Now this one, we're going to add in the blue note right there. Okay, and then we continue on. Okay, see how that works? It's like a repeating riff on 2 strings. Okay, let's go from the bottom, work our way up to the top string. Blue note. Now at this point, we're going to kind of reverse the riff, start with a pull-off, end it with a hammer-on. Okay, now the picking's a little different here too. It's going to be down, pull, down, down, hammer, then up. Okay, down, pull, down, down, hammer, up. Then you just continue down in the same manner. Now we'll incorporate the blue note, and then we'll finish it like that. Okay. Okay, so think of it as a 2-string repeating riff that involves a hammer and a pull, then a pull and a hammer, in the ascending way, and it just repeats all the way across the fretboard. Blue note. Now I'm going to roll back onto the G. Blue note. Okay. Cool bluesy riff. A little quicker. Okay, again, articulate your slurs, even triplets, and that should be a lot of fun once you get that together. Okay, so let's move on to a hammer-on pull-off riff using the home plate box. Okay, so we're going to move up into the third position. Here's our home plate box with the blue notes. Okay, so this riff I laid out for you, kind of the same deal. Okay, we're going to start up on the A, do a pull off to G, then hammer here. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing here, but we're going to incorporate the blue note. Same thing, and then I'm going to go up to the G and then on the E. Vibrato, which I'm going to start talking about here in a little bit. So you can see the speed factor is a little bit easier now because we're hammering and pulling a lot of notes. That's what it affords you to do. See what I mean? Okay. Okay, now vibrato. Let's talk a little bit about vibrato now, because it really gives you a chance to add some personality to your playing at this point. Okay? Okay, now let's talk about this E. Okay, because this is a spot along the string that will be a little easier for you to vibrato. It feels good right in here to vibrato this note. And I'm going to use my third finger. Okay? Now, basically what you're doing when you vibrato is you're oscillating the string back and forth. Okay? What you're doing is you're bending it a little bit off center and returning it to the original pitch. Okay? Sounds a little sick when you do it like that. I'm going to do it several times in a row. Okay? Now the technique involved is how you place your hand on the neck. You're on the tip of your finger, and then you have what we'll call a fulcrum point here. So it's the side of your index finger right on the side of the neck, like that. So it gives you a fulcrum point to use. Instead of trying to vibrato like this, which you can do, but it's easier if you can use that fulcrum point, putting the side of your index on the side of the neck, and then rolling your wrist a little bit, like this. Okay? Okay, and again, it's even bend and releases. Now again, it sounds sick when you do it slowly like that. But as you speed it up, it starts to sound more like a vibrato. Now what we're doing is we're looking for a particular speed of the oscillation. Okay, now the important thing is the evenness of the oscillations. Don't do this. Okay, don't do it real erratic. Keep it even. Now be careful also not to overbend the string when you do this. I hear a lot of students who are working on vibrato, they'll do something like this. You know, they'll actually bend the note out of tune. What you're doing is you're giving it a slight bend and you're bringing it back into pitch. So the listener hears the pitch, but with a little modulation. which gives color to the note. Now, different players have different vibratos. A lot of players, their vibrato is their signature sound, the way that they vibrato a note. So what you're doing is you're trying to find a vibrato that sounds good. Okay? Different speeds work. You can do kind of a quavery thing, or you can do it a little slower. Sounds a little cooler, a little bluesier. You can experiment with the width of the oscillation. A more pronounced, dramatic vibrato would be a little wider oscillations, kind of like that. Okay, so it's the speed of the oscillation, the width of the oscillation, and the evenness of the oscillation. Okay, that's what yields a good sounding vibrato to you, and ultimately it gives you a signature sound to your playing. Okay, vibrato's good on long notes. Okay, so this riff here that we just did, it's nice to put a little vibrato on that last note, because it's the last note, you can sustain it. You can vibrato shorter notes too, but usually vibrato is most effective on longer notes. Okay? Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll take a break here, and we'll kind of put things together with a couple more riffs for you. I got a couple more trickier riffs that we can try, and then we'll wrap up. Thanks. Okay, hope you're enjoying the lesson. We're really getting involved with the blues now. Lots of nice techniques we're checking out here. I'm going to show you a couple more riffs here. And one more technique I want to touch on that you can start getting involved with and experimenting with is another way of slurring notes. It's sliding up to a note, away from a note, from one note to another. Basically what it is you're going to attack a note, let's say for this example, which is going to be in this next riff. We'll start with our third finger on the third fret of the B string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack the note at the third fret and slide into it at the fifth fret. Okay, now, again, it's important to sustain the note through the duration of the slide. Okay, a lot of people will lose their pressure and they'll do something like that. So by the time they get to the note they're trying to slide into, they've loosened the pressure on their finger. Okay? Okay, what you want to do is you want to maintain pressure. So when you slide into the note, the string is still going to vibrate from this fret on. Now this is a fast slide. I'm sliding right into the E. It would be like if I was trying to play this rhythm. There I just use separate fingers and attack both notes. But now I'm going to slide into the note. It's a quick motion. Some slides are slower and more dramatic. Some slides slide right to the note, like you're articulating both. Okay, so along with hammer-ons and pull-offs, now we have slides. You're going to be able to slide down also. Okay, same deal. You got to keep your pressure and keep the string vibrating. Don't do... See, the note kind of dies on me if I don't keep pressure. I want to... Again, it's articulating your slurs. The note that you slur to has to be the same volume as the note that you attacked with your pick. Okay? So you hear both notes articulated clearly. Okay, so let's try a riff here. We're going to have the slide at the very end of this riff. Now, this involves hammers and pulls. Actually, this riff is just going to have a series of pull-offs on it. But it's one of these repeating riffs that you can do across the whole width of the fretboard, the whole width of the scale. Okay, and it starts like this. I'm going to have a pickup note on the open E with an upstroke, and then I'm going to pull G to E, then re-attack, and then I'm going to go open 5, G, open 5. Okay, that's the pattern. Okay, notice the picking, up, down, pull, down, up, down, up. Okay, now let's move on. Same thing. Down, pull, down, up, down, up. Okay? Down, pull, down, up, down, up. Throw the blue note in there just for a little spice. Now, at this point, I'm going to finish it off with a tonic note, sliding into the 5th fret, and then add vibrato to it. Try it again. Up, down, pull, down, up, down, up. Blue note. Now we can increase the speed on this easily. Just make sure you play it even triplets. Okay, so start with it slow, even triplets, articulate the slurs, get a good slide, and a good vibrato at the end. Okay, one more for you. Now these are some more sliding riffs. Let's check this one out. I'm gonna slide the blue note to the B, the blue note, which is the sharp 4 up to the 5 in this riff. Like this. Okay, notice the counting. 1, 2, and 16ths. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, and I'm going to use the 2nd finger on that slide. And then a vibrato, of course. Now, using the home play box, I can transpose that up an octave. Okay, so I think with the finger I'll go 2, open. Then I'm going to use 1 here, and then use the middle finger for the slide. Now notice I did that little quarter step tweak. We've talked about that before, I think. I just kind of like give that a little quarter step bend. Nice vibrato on the E. So put those two together. Okay, one more riff to finish the lesson. This is going to involve the blue note. It's got a pull-off and a hammer-on, and we'll end it with a nice vibrato that'll put all our techniques together. Okay, so notice how I started up in the home plate box, shifted down into the main box. With a pull, hammer, sliding the blue note. You might want to give that a quarter step tweak. Okay, so there you have it. Hope you had a lot of fun with that. Lots of stuff there for you to work on. Why don't we take a break here and we'll wrap up and look to our next lesson. Thanks a lot. Okay, Mark Brennan for jamplay.com. Hope you enjoyed our lesson on the blues scale. Lots of information for you, lots of techniques to practice. Just a little bit every day. Stay patient with yourself. Again, just to wrap up on everything we talked about here, get the blues scale under your fingers, the home plate box. When you practice your slurring, make sure that you're articulating your riffs and you're playing them nice and even. And experiment, come up with your own riffs. I gave you some really nice riffs that I invented for the lesson as examples, as exercises, but they're really cool riffs. You know, use them as a springboard for your own creativity, and you know, work on your own riffs. Try to get a E minor blues rock jam track if you can get a hold of one, so you have a little backing track to work on. And then in future lessons with the minor pentatonics, we're going to start talking about the movability of this scale and how you can take it up the neck. But in the meantime, look into our next lesson. We're going to get back to the power chords. I'm going to start talking about the movability of power chords and getting them up and down the neck for you. Okay, so practice, have fun, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.